Ladies and gentlemen, even as India's general elections have concluded and we are now just a few hours away from the results, there's one big concern that has remained all through these polls. Right from 19th April, when elections began, till the 1st of June, when the last phase was held, not just political temperatures, but the actual mercury level was rising throughout the country. And as the Met Department issued alert after alert for different states, record-breaking temperatures were impacting those on ground. Let me give you a rather startling picture. Now, we don't have an official number yet, but as per reports, over 40 polling officials on duty died either due to heat stroke or heart attack this year. In the middle of campaigning in April, BJP's senior leader Nitin Gadkari felt dizzy during a rally in Maharashtra's Yavatmal and collapsed on stage. Voters have stood in intense sun, waiting in long queues to cast their vote, some even fainting. In fact, a large reason for low voter turnout in several regions across phases has been the heat. Now today, the CEC, Rajiv Kumar, acknowledged that the elections should have been preponed. Listen in.
चुनाव हमें कम से कम एक महीने पहले खत्म कर देना चाहिए, इतनी गर्मी में नहीं जाना चाहिए. दिस इज वन लर्निंग फॉर अस विच वी वांट टू कीप फॉर अस. बहुत बड़ा चुनाव है, बहुत फोर्सेस लगती हैं, बहुत मूवमेंट है. हम इससे समय को कम नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन पहले कर सकते हैं. इतनी गर्मी में नहीं करना चाहिए. दिस इज फर्स्ट लर्निंग फॉर अस. सेकंड, इस फेक नैरेटिव को लड़ने के लिए और एक और इसके लिए हमें तैयारी करनी चाहिए.
Well, so there you have it, the Election Commission acknowledging and admitting that polls could have been preponed. A lesson learned, but probably the hard way. The question is, can India conduct her next elections at a more convenient time and restrict it to lesser phases? Would that be feasible? Let me try and get an understanding from my guests on the show. Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, former CIC, is joining us. Also joining us on Nation Tonight is Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner. Good evening. Namaskar to both of you gentlemen. Dr. Qureshi, let me begin with you. I have these are not official numbers that I have with me, but as per media reports, about 33 polling officials from heat stroke died in Uttar Pradesh, 1 in Odisha, 2 in Bihar from heart attack, 1 in Karnataka, 1 in Hyderabad, basically several regions seeing these unfortunate accidents. What was stopping the Election Commission from actually holding the elections earlier?
Yeah, Acha, very good question. And that is one question which the CC himself should have answered. 7-phase election has been the norm for the last 3-4 elections. But even 7 phases were over in 20 days, 24 days. Why was it extended to 45 days? In fact, there was gap between 2 phases was 11 days or 12 days this time. So it could have been shortened even with 7 phases. But I would personally strongly feel that the time has come when this multi-phase election must go. Why? And why was it introduced? Because there used to be loss of life, and for which we started using paramilitary force in Mr. and session time. Now, paramilitary forces being limited, so we will negotiate with the Home Ministry how many companies, one company is 80 to 100 people, how many companies will you give us? And then we will say to how much do we require for complete coverage of sensitive and hypersensitive booths. So, which is why 6 or 7 or 8 phases were decided. Now that there is peace in the country, government it says it all the time. All these companies, I got 750 companies at my time, and I did it in 7 phases. But now give me 3,500 companies straight away instead of doing it for 2 months, 2.5 months. I'll finish in 33 days. So the fact that if more forces should be made available because they are available now. Secondly, we have taken many other steps to make elections peaceful. The way we bind down the criminals, if I give you the details, it will take time. But of course, it will be very important for people to know. Just to give you one example, one thing which we have started doing, we call all the SPs and tell us district by district how many non-bailable warrants are pending, which means how many criminals are absconding from justice. And, we find 100, 200, 500. and the 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, you and police say they are not traceable, whereas they are appearing on page 3 of newspaper every day. So bogus because under political pressure. You know what we tell them? Okay, look, if these 300 missing non-bailable warrant criminals you don't catch within 15 days, look for another job. And within 15 days, all of them are found. So
Okay.
these are some of the measures we are taking to make an election peaceful. Now, and secondly, one more reason why we should do away with multiple phases, in this social media age, this is doing more harm than good, because the kind of rumors, fake news, everything which is happening for all the time, that will disappear, because the best is to do a poll in one day and get out. So that will be the most peaceful for the country, and it is doable, and it should be done immediately.
Okay, I'm also going to talk about the feasibility of holding lesser phases, Dr. Qureshi, but let me go across to Mr. Gandhi. Mr.
Just
Gandhi,
a minute,
low voter turnout has been a cause of concern.
Shreya, your
Yes, yes.
guest
Sure.
relation
Okay.
had made it very clear that this is one-on-one, because I have some other commitment just after this. So, with apologies to Mr. Gandhi, I do want to
Okay.
hear him, but I have something else, and that was the understanding. So, if you have any question for me,
Okay, okay.
I'm
Quickly,
here.
then let me
Otherwise,
also ask you. Yes, okay, okay. Let me then ask you, Dr. Qureshi, talking about the feasibility of, holding lesser phases, there is, of course, a lot of paraphernalia involved, whether it's paramilitary forces, whether it's polling officers, whether it's people who are put on duty at the polling booths, all of this taken into consideration, coupled with the fact that, we've seen some intense heat wave this time around. Low water turnout has also been attributed to that. We've got, the climate change effect is being seen across the world. And therefore, how much of it is actually feasible on ground? You talked about, providing these many paramilitary forces, personnel to conduct elections, but how much of that is actually feasible on ground for a country as diverse and large as India?
yeah, one phase election is possible, provided we have enough force. That's one. Secondly, multiple phases are not because of shortage of polling staff, but only because of the shortage of the paramilitary forces, which every political party demands. So, therefore, if we have more forces given to us in the first place, yeah, we can finish in one phase, maximum two phases. Why not in one phase? Because in between phases, the kind of poison which is spreading, which can set the country on fire, the kind of rumors and the hate speech which follows. So, for all that, we need to rethink. Third solution, to conduct the elections in February, January, February. In fact, one top leader, I don't know whether PM or Home Minister, did say that that is the better time.
Okay. Also, Dr. Qureshi, let me quickly ask you then, one segment which is least talked about during this entire election process are the polling officials, the ones who've lost their lives, the one who are going through tough terrains only to let people exercise their franchisee and hold smooth and transparent democratic process in this entire country. What are the kind of challenges your polling officials actually have to face when they're on ground? We see so many of them dying of heat stroke and heart attacks.
Yeah, I'm glad, Shreya, you are the first person who ever asked me and showed concern about the presiding officer, our polling staff. Otherwise, many times we have heard, why don't we have a two-phase election? What is the harm? Do it. I mean, it is not a joke that getting these people to come and do their duty, and quite a few of them are women, and say they're school teachers, getting them, and they cannot say no because the penalty for saying no is jail instead of a criminal offense. In such a situation, the way we force them, they go to places where security requires security. If you have seen the film Newton, that is only the story of one single booth, and we have 20,000 such booths. So it is very easy for people, experts, to say, no, we should have a double phase election so that 50% plus one vote and all that. So fact is, the concern that you expressed, and it will be dealt with if the weather is good. because they will not be used 7 times, fortunately, unlike the police forces. The police force, the policeman is used 7 times repeatedly. At least they go only once, but you yourself are showing with what difficulty they do and conduct their duty. So we have to make it easy. We have to, and one thing is good, better weather, better facilities, better compensation.
All right. All right, we'll leave it there. Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, thank you very much for joining us on Nation tonight and helping us get a wider perspective on the challenges that our polling officials, face and what we can do. Let me go across to Mr. Shailesh Gandhi now. Mr. Gandhi, thanks very much for waiting. Thank you for your time, sir. But as a citizen, as somebody who has witnessed these Lok Sabha elections, low voter turnout is something that has been attributed to the heat wave, the intense heat that people were facing and people were braving when they went out to exercise their franchisee. Do you think that is also one of the major reasons that people have been discouraged this time around to go out and actually vote?
I guess the very high temperature is a major obstacle to people coming out and voting and standing in queues outside. But I must also, though I believe the Election Commission has not performed very well, on this I must congratulate the fact that the Chief Election Commissioner has acknowledged the fact that this was a mistake. Last 5 elections that I have tracked, never has the polling extended beyond 15th of May. This time it is right at June 1st. This should have been avoided. And what Dr. Qureshi said, and he has got far greater experience and understanding on this. If we can reduce the number of phases, ideally, I think in March or April, if we have the election, preferably March, I think it will be a very good sign. And I hope the Election Commission now looks after this and addresses this issue of saying, how can they hold the election in a single month in March in 2 or 3 phases if possible? That would be the right solution, I guess.
Mr. Gandhi agreed that, the Election Commission has finally admitted and acknowledged the fact that this is a lesson learned, but perhaps it's been learned the hard way. Perhaps it has been learned very late, after lives have been lost, after people have been discouraged to go out and vote. They've been, stopping themselves from going out in the intense heat. Perhaps it's too late that this acknowledgement has come.
That is true. I completely concede that. And yet, I believe people in high positions should acknowledge mistakes that they've made. That is what will bring change and betterment. And that is not very easy to happen in our country. People make mistakes and do not acknowledge their mistakes and do not learn anything from there. Here, the Election Commission has shown its willingness to learn out of this experience and admitted that they made a mistake.
And how do you think this can now move forward, Mr. Gandhi?
Yes, I think next time they should plan on parliamentary elections being held in either March, preferably March. March is the ideal season where there are no problems of disruption anywhere. And preferably in 2 or 3 phases only. If it's feasible, I have nobody to comment on that. Dr. Qureshi says it is possible, so I would go by his judgment on this.
Mr. Gandhi, Dr. Qureshi also made an interesting point when he talked about how social media is impacting the elections and how it makes it worse when you have a long gap between phases, how misinformation, disinformation is actually impacting the voter, impacting the Lok Sabha elections that we just saw. What do you make of it really? How do you think this really can be sort of dealt with now in future?
I think people blame social media for everything that goes wrong. It's serving a great purpose. It spreads things faster. We do not depend only on national media or main media houses to give us information. It spreads across the entire country in a very fast manner. And therefore, I personally feel social media is here to stay. and we will slowly get adjusted to this. And there are already organizations that are pointing out fake videos, fake news, and they will grow. And hopefully they will nip such things in the bud as soon as they start.
Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, thank you very much, sir, for joining us on Nation Tonight and sharing your perspective. Hopefully, we'll have the elections next that we have in this country better timed, convenient for all, and we will not lose lives in this whole process. Thank you very much.